So again, welcome to the USC Leonard Davis School of Gerontology. This presentation is specifically towards the application process. My name is Stephen. I'm an admission counselor here, and let's begin. So these are our contact information. Lisa and Sarah are also fellow admission counselors with me. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us right now since we are working remotely. And I encourage you to screenshot this or jot this information down. Contacting an admission counselor throughout your application process is really going to help you. If you have any specific questions, you are more than welcome to ask them to us. I really suggest reaching out to an admission counselor. Okay. So let us begin. I am going to start with some specific programs. So we're going to kind of go through 3 different categories of programs. So let's start with these specifically. So we're going to do the Master of Science in Gerontology, our Masters of Arts in Gerontology, Masters of Arts in Aging Services Management, Master of Arts in Long-Term Care. We're going to also do our Masters of Arts in Medical Gerontology, our Masters of Arts in Senior Living Hospitality, and our Graduate Certificate. So these programs will require one set of documentation. So these are all the specific documents that you need to submit with your application, and we'll go into greater depth for each one. Our online application, this application system, we are currently only accepting for fall 2020 right now. If you're interested in applying for the spring 2021 semester or later on, that application is not going to be available until early fall, so around late August, early September time. And once that is available, we will let you know. Okay, so let's go into more depth for each piece of documentation. Let's start with the online application. So as Sarah has already dropped in the chat, this is the direct link to our application. You can also find the general link right here, gradadmin.usc.edu. So if you go to the Grad Admin General homepage, they have downloadable PDF checklists that will also help you. And we also have on our website and how to apply that has kind of all of this information for us as well. So in the application system, there are going to be kind of 4 modules: personal info, academic history, supporting info, and program materials. So if you're interested in applying to any of the programs from the previous slide, it will walk you through each of these core modules for all the information that you need to submit. Once you have filled out the application in whole, you are able to click the submit button and pay the $90 application fee. I also suggest keeping your login information for this, because once you have submitted your application, you will be able to go back into this portal and check the status of your application. So once an admission decision has been made, you will find it here in this application portal and then be able to take the next steps if you are admitted. One kind of tip that I really suggest to all of my applicants is that when you start this application online, that is the perfect time to start ordering your transcripts and submitting them. And I'll go into transcript submission a little bit later. So the next document that we'll need is your resume. So we need an updated resume or CV. You can upload this directly on the portal. There is a very specific section that says upload your resume, and it won't let you submit until you have. We'll also require a statement of purpose. So I suggest that you can use some of these prompts listed below to help you write your statement of interest. So those could include why the USC Leonard Davis School of Gerontology. What previous experiences have you had that have led you to want to pursue gerontology at a graduate level? Describe some of your education and career goals. And I really suggest trying to keep it within a 3 to 5 page limit, double spaced. That's kind of going to be enough time for our admission committee to get to know you and be able to hear enough about kind of all of these prompts that we've listed. Next, we will also require you to submit 2 letters of recommendation. So when you start your application, there will be a section for you to upload the contact information from your recommenders, such as their name, their email, phone number, and whatnot. When you have certified that all the information is correct, your recommender will receive an email with an link to directly upload their letter and to also recommend you. So in that recommendation portal, there's going to be a couple of things that ask them if they recommend you or not, and a few other questions, and that link that they directly upload their letter for you. If they feel comfortable, they're also welcome to mail their letter of recommendation, but if it does get mailed, it has to come from the recommender. It can't come from you. So one tip that I have about your letters of recommendation is to ask your recommenders with enough time and make sure that they're aware of the deadline. So let's say you're able to submit your application, but we're still missing those 2 letters of recommendation. We can't process your application fully until those letters are submitted. We can start to process it and kind of go through the initial steps of the reviewing your application, but we will not be able to give you a final admittance decision until we have all the letters of recommendation. Next, we'll need all of your official transcripts. So this can be from any institution after high school, and we do require that includes all institutions after high school. So if you included a community college, a junior college before transferring to a bachelor's program, we are going to need all of those transcripts. Some of our institutions are allowed to send their transcripts electronically. So I do suggest checking the gradadmin.usc.edu website to see if your transcripts are eligible to be submitted electronically. If you are an international student, most likely your transcripts are going to be needed to be mailed to us. There are very few exceptions. Again, check that website to see if your university qualifies. If you are submitting your transcripts by the mail, I do suggest sending it to the address that I have listed below. This is going to allow us to track your transcripts a little bit better, and we won't bug you if for some reason they are sent to a different address. So I really suggest sending all of your transcripts by mail if that is the way that you choose, and if you do it electronically, that is also good if your university allows it. Like I was saying earlier, when you start your application, that is the ideal time to start ordering your transcripts and submitting them. This process in the application review does take us the longest. It can take up to 4 or more weeks to process your transcripts. So making sure that you submit them with plenty of time before the application deadline, that's really going to help move your application along. Okay, so some of you have asked when registering for this event, is the GRE required? We are able to waive the GRE for the select master's programs with strong academic history. So technically, or usually, if your GPA is a 3.0 or above, we can waive the GRE test scores. Generally, if your GPA was below that 3.0 marker, then we will require you to submit the GRE test scores. If you do have to submit the GRE test scores, we only need the general GRE. We don't need any sort of subject tests or specific ones. And the scores are valid for 5 years from the start date of your desired program. So if you're applying, say, in early fall for a start date in spring of 2021, your GRE test scores would have to be from 2016 January or later. When you do submit them, you submit them electronically. Our school code is 4852, and there's no department code necessary. You can just select general graduate programs. My tip for the GRE is that if you do have to take the GRE, plan a date where you have about at least a week or more from when you will receive your scores to the application deadline. They are able to process the scores pretty quick electronically, but I would also plan for a little leeway. You know, and if you also want to plan, if you want to take it again, if you're not happy with the scores that you receive, because we are looking for a minimum of 297. Okay. So a lot of other questions have been based around finances. So we do offer a merit-based scholarship for our master's programs. We award up to $500,000 annually to our students. And I do recommend that if you are interested, please apply. So how can you apply? There is a supplemental form directly on the online application portal. So when you're going through kind of the financial section of the application, you'll see a section to see if you want to be considered for scholarship. If you are interested, select that box and it'll lead you to a few more supplemental questions. My tip is be as specific and detailed as possible during that section. And if you are applying, you know, any amount can help in the program in the long run, and we are trying to help you as best as we can. If you are interested in, let's say, financial aid, the USC Department of Financial Aid is a great tool for you to utilize. You can just put into your internet browser, USC Financial Aid Department, and they have a whole website that will pop up, and they have special representatives that will be able to talk you through that process and other funding options. For tuition, currently the current base rate per unit, because we charge on a per unit basis, is $1,995 for the upcoming semester. You can also find that rate and breakdown of tuitions and associated fees through the USC catalog. You can also reach out to an admission counselor for more contact information or more specific details about that. Okay. For our international students that are interested in applying to those programs, you will need to also complete two other things potentially. If you completed your bachelor's inside the US or an Anglophone country, you will not be required to submit English language proficiency test scores. If you have completed your bachelor's outside the US or a non-Anglophone country, then we will accept 3 different tests for satisfying the English language proficiency requirement. As I've laid out here, we'll require the TOEFL, IELTS, or the Pearson PTE. And these are the minimum scores that we are looking for. If you're also an international student, there may be some country-specific requirements. So I have listed this website below. It's also through the gradadmin.usc.edu page. So if you go to the general homepage, you can find this one as well, or you can just copy this link here. This is going to allow you to have a drop-down menu to input which country you're from, and then it'll give you very specifically if your English language proficiency test scores are required, and kind of any other transcript or other requirements as well. Okay, great. So I'm sure you're all interested, when are the application deadlines? So for these select programs that I've listed, we have 2 main kind of intake cycles. We have a spring 2021, and we also have a fall 2021. Those are our next 2 big upcoming ones. So if you're interested in applying for the spring semester, which starts in January, our priority deadline is going to be October 15th. And then if you're interested in the fall, our priority deadline will be March 15th. So our priority deadlines, I highly suggest you submit your application before the priority deadline, just because you can still be considered for merit-based scholarship if you're interested, and it gives you ample amount of time to register for classes and prepare if you're moving or relocating to Los Angeles area. We will continue to accept applications on a rolling basis after these priority deadlines. However, I cannot guarantee that you will be considered for merit-based scholarship after the priority deadlines. we will continue to accept applications and admit students. Typically, if you submit your application by the priority deadline, you can hear an admission decision as soon as 2 to 4 weeks after, typically on the latter side. That is if you have submitted all of your transcripts, all of your letters of recommendation, and all of your other documents have been in on time. If we're still waiting for, let's say, one letter of recommendation, that process can take a little bit longer, and we will notify you if you are missing any documents from your application. If you have submitted on a rolling basis after that priority deadline, you can expect an admissions decision 4 weeks or later. It's just dependent upon when you submit. Great. So now we are going to talk about kind of a second segment of the session, which is the Masters of Science in Nutrition, Healthspan, and Longevity program. Currently, we have a recording of a more detailed presentation for this program on our website. But if you are interested, I highly recommend contacting Sarah. She is an admission counselor that works specifically with this program and can help you through all the logistics of the required documents and the application process. I'll touch on it briefly though right now. So all of those documents that I just described for the previous master's programs will still be required. The only exception that we will still require is our prerequisite template and 40 hours of experience. So for the 40 hours of experience on the application, the portal will have a kind of guide you through this process of these two locations where you upload these documents. One is going to be a summary of your experience of 40 hours with a registered dietitian. And we will also need you to identify which mentor that you did those 40 hours of experience with, their contact information, and a signature of the summary that you completed. We will also require prerequisite courses. So we have a whole list that I'm not going to go into detail. You can contact Sarah and have her send you that prerequisite chart. You can fill in all those classes that you think would fulfill those requirements and send it back to her, and she'll be able to look at it and give you some more guidance. All of these prerequisite courses must be completed within 10 years, except for 3. So if you're more interested in those 3 prerequisites, please contact Sarah. Because they do have minimum unit requirements based on the prerequisite itself. So my tip is please, please, please reach out to Sarah. She's going to help you, guide you through this process. She'll give you that prerequisite chart because we are also going to require you to upload all those prerequisites in your application. So we do have a very specific deadline for this program, and that is January 15th. So we only have one cycle of admission for this program each year. And you start the program in the fall. So you need to apply January of that year to start in the fall of that year. And it will be a January 15th deadline every year. So even if you're interested in applying for fall 2022, it'll still be January 15th, 2022. Next, I'm going to move into our doctorate programs of this section. So if you were able to join us on Tuesday, we had the chairs of each program join us and go into the specifics of the programs, go into kind of what kind of research you could potentially do and how the structure of the program is laid out. So this is going to be specifically for the documents that you need. Okay, so we are going to require a few more documents for our PhD application than our master's and graduate certificate program. So let's go into them in detail. So for the PhD, the GRE test scores are required. So we are looking for a minimum of 297, but we like to say that a 308 will make you competitive. So you're more than welcome to apply if you have that 297 minimum. You are also welcome to apply if you have higher. Again, the school code is 4852 and no department code is necessary. And it's also important that you follow this kind of 5-year requirement. So our next PhD admission cycle will be for fall 2021. So your test scores can't be any older than 5 years from August 2021. Okay, for our PhD resume and statement of interest, this is very important. So on your resume, we are going to require kind of any sort of research experience that you've already completed, internships, if you've jobs, if you've had them before, if you have already completed your bachelor's or master's as well, and then gone off to work for a couple of years, it's important that you put everything that you did in between. For your statement of interest, it's kind of similar to the master's programs, but we're also going to require you to do a little more. And that includes by telling us which faculty members you're interested in working with and why. So with our 2 PhD programs, if you're interested in the biology of aging PhD, it's important that you look at our faculty webpage and list those faculty by school. So if you're interested in working with faculty members from the Buck Institute or the School of Gerontology at USC, it's important that you list those out. If you don't, it's not the biggest thing, but the chairs of the department and the admission committee have requested that you do that. Your statement of interest can still be within that 3 to 5 page limit. For the PhD programs, it is acceptable and okay to kind of go over that 5-page limit, but I wouldn't suggest submitting a 10-page statement of interest. Try and be specific and precise and try and hit all of these sort of listed prompts. For the PhD, we're going to require 3 letters of recommendation. Again, it's similar to the master's. You upload them onto the online application portal and your recommender's information. They'll receive that link where they can upload directly, or the recommenders themselves can mail us their letters. Here is the address listed again. And it's the same tip that I said with our master's letters of recommendation. Please make sure that they're aware of the deadline. As the PhD has a hard deadline, we are really looking for these letters of recommendation to be on time. Another requirement for a PhD application is the writing sample. So you can upload your writing sample onto the application portal itself. If you have a longer writing sample, such as manuscript length, we suggest that you send that to us by mail. It is still okay to upload online, but we would prefer if it's 150 pages or more, please send that to us separately to our mailing address. I have listed that below. So we also had a lot of questions about what a writing sample can include, and our 2 chairs of the department did touch upon that briefly on Tuesday in our virtual session then. So some recommendations that they have is, we're really looking at the writing sample to cover your ability to write about a topic critically. So if you're interested in research and pursuing that within a PhD, your ability to write about that is really going to be important and something that you want to shine. So the document can be published. It can also be unpublished. It can be a thesis summation for a master's program that you've already completed. It could be an article submission or whatnot. You are also welcome to upload more than one. So let's say you are a co-author on a published article or a magazine entry, and you really want to show that because it shows that you were able to perform research. You're more than welcome to submit that and kind of describe what your role was in writing that paper. And then you can also submit something that you're the sole author of or the primary author of. So just showing the committee your ability to write and perform writing at a critical level for research at a PhD level. For our PhD official transcripts, we are still going to require you to submit all official transcripts from post-high school. So it's identical to those master's programs. Again, when you start the PhD application, which will become available in early fall, please start ordering your transcripts then and submitting them then if you can. As this deadline is a lot more stricter, I really suggest, and it helps your application move through the review process by having all of your documents in before that deadline. For our international students that are interested in applying to a PhD, here are the kind of two main requirements. So again, there's country-specific requirements. I suggest going to this link. I believe Sarah's also put it in the chat up above, and you can put it in your home country or the country where you completed your bachelor's or master's degree and find out any other requirements that you need to submit. And our English language proficiency test scores are a little bit higher than the master's requirements, such as TOEFL requires 100, IELTS is a 7 or above, and the PTE is 68 plus. Our deadlines for the PhD program, like I said, they're pretty strict. It's December 1st for both the PhD in biology of aging and the PhD in gerontology. Both of the professors went through the sort of process after you submit your application. So about anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks later, you'll hear about the next steps about our visit day. That visit day is kind of like an opportunity to come, enjoy the campus, meet all the faculty members, the staff, meet fellow applicants, and have interviews. And it's also an opportunity for us to meet you and see how you might fit into the program. As the programs are ranging from 4 to 6 years long, we want to make sure that it's a good fit for you and a good fit for us as well. So we only take one application cycle per year for the PhD program. The deadline is December 1st for a start date the following fall. So if you're interested in applying for fall 2021, which has a start date in August, I suggest submitting your application by that December 1st deadline and making sure that all of your requirements are in. For all of our programs that I have previously discussed, our PhD, our master's, our graduate certificate, we don't place importance on one set of documentation over the other. We're not looking only at your GPA. We're not looking only at your letters of recommendation. We're taking a very holistic approach to the application review process, and we're looking at everything that you submitted. We're looking at the questions in your supplemental form of your merit-based scholarship application. We're looking at your statement of interest or your statement of purpose to see, what you want to pursue and why you want to apply to this program. So I suggest focusing on every aspect of your application and trying your best on for every question in every component. For our PhD programs, they are fully funded, as was discussed earlier. So by applying and submitting your application, you're automatically applying for that funding option as well. At this time, I would like to move to our question and answer section. So a lot of you I see have been submitting questions in the chat. That's great. Please continue to submit them. And if you have more kind of lengthy or specific questions, you're also welcome to reach out to any one of the admission counselors here. Again, our email is probably the best way to reach us right now, as I know I'm only checking my voicemail about once a week. So let us go into some of the questions that you guys have submitted. Okay, as I'm sure you know, if you have submitted a question, my colleague Sarah is also on here and has been answering a few of them. So we have a question about the PhD in biology of aging program. If you're still in a program and you don't have your official transcript yet, but the application deadline is before your program ends. What do you do? What kind of transcripts can you submit? Great question. So let's say you're in your final year of a program, you'll end in the spring, so May, June time, and you want to apply to start the PhD program that fall. That's great. You can definitely apply and submit your transcripts. We're going to require official transcripts from any institution that you've completed from. And the institution that you're still taking classes at, we're going to require official from them as well. So you can ask them to submit a kind of progress where you are in the program and which classes you're enrolled in or you intend to enroll in, saying that you have already submitted your intent to enroll in them, and submit that to us so that we can see what classes you're going to take. Once you have completed your program, then we're going to require the official transcript for all the completed classes. So in that case, you would have to submit it twice. And when you do send it to us, saying these are the classes I still need to take and I have intent to enroll in them, we will make note of that on your application. That goes the same for the Master's of Science in Nutrition, Health Span, and Longevity program. If you need to submit that application by that January 15th deadline, but you don't finish your current program or your prerequisites until, let's say, that spring, so May or June again, please submit any classes that you're currently enrolled in or you have intent to enroll in. With that noted, when, let's say, you have those classes that you're intent to enroll in and you have been granted admission, it's not full admission. It is more of a temporary until we receive your final grades. So you also can't, intend to enroll in those classes and kind of flunk your GPA or whatnot. We are still going to look at those grades that you got and still review your application at that point. So I do suggest that we can't give you that official enrollment status without the official copies of a completed program, especially a bachelor's program. Okay, great question. When will the 2021 application be open? So we are expecting the application to be open early fall, so sometime around early September time. If you've already been in contact with an admission counselor, me or Lisa or Sarah, we will definitely notify you when the application does become available, especially for all of our programs that have deadlines in the fall, that October 15th deadline or December 1st deadline, we're gonna let you know right away. In order to make those kind of deadlines where the application's only open for a couple of months before it's due, like I suggested earlier, when you start, submit those transcripts, let your recommenders know these are the deadlines, just get all of your documents in as quickly as you can before that deadline. Okay. Okay, great question here. Would you say applying anytime before the deadline would be the same? So if you submit your application before our priority deadline for our master's program, select master's programs, we will not review them until the priority deadline at least. So let's say the application opens up right away and you submit it that day, we're still not going to review it until the priority deadline has reached. For our PhD programs and our nutrition programs, once that deadline reaches, that's when we start the review process. So you are more than welcome to submit before and early, but that's not going to give you any sort of priority status in the review process. We take a very holistic and equal approach to reviewing these applications, and so we wait until those deadlines to start reviewing any application. So that's how that works. However, I do suggest submitting a day or two before the application deadline, just because if there are any glitches with the system or the influx of applications on the deadline day, you know, you want to make sure that you have enough time to either contact an admission counselor such as myself or IT support to resolve your issue before that deadline. Okay, next question. Will you accept master's thesis via regular mail? So what you can do is if you only have one copy of your master's thesis, you can make an additional copy of your thesis and send that to us by mail. That would be acceptable. I'm assuming this is for the PhD requirement for your writing sample. That is okay to send us a copy of it. There's no sort of limitation of date on your writing sample of when it has to be kind of either written in, so no sort of time frame. So say you completed your master's thesis 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if that's the paper that you want to submit for your writing sample, that is definitely okay. You know, the parameters for your writing sample are a little bit more loose than our other application requirements. However, I would suggest that it's either, it doesn't have to be related specifically. So if you're applying to that PhD in gerontology program and you want to pursue, say, end-of-life care, your writing sample doesn't have to be specifically on end-of-life care. It just has to show that ability to write about research, think critically, and give us a sense of what your writing style is. And which programs are still open for the fall 2020 application cycle? Yeah, great question. So we are still accepting applications for fall 2020. We are selecting applications for our Master of Science in Gerontology program, our Master of Arts in Gerontology program, our Master of Arts in Aging Services Management program, our Masters of Arts in Senior Living Hospitality program. We're also accepting for Masters of Arts in Long-Term Care Administration, Master of Arts in Medical Gerontology, and our graduate certificate. So basically any program except for PhD and our Masters of Science in Nutrition, Health Span, and Longevity. For the application deadlines for all those programs that I just listed, if you're interested in applying for fall 2020, we are accepting on a rolling basis. So I suggest getting in the application as soon as possible because classes are starting in just a little over 2 weeks. They start August 17th. So it's still possible to submit your application and get you registered in time. It will be rushed, but it's definitely possible as well. If you are interested in applying for the PhD and Masters of Science in Nutrition, Health Span, and Longevity program, that application cycle is closed currently, and the next application cycle hasn't opened up yet. It'll open up in early fall. And again, one of the admission counselors will definitely reach out to you once the application is live and available on the application portal. We'll most likely send you an email with the direct link to the application and let you know that it is available. Great question so far. For our programs, all of our master's programs and our graduate certificate are available fully online. They're also available residentially on our campus. You can complete those programs either part-time or full-time. So regardless of what program you're in, after you are granted admission, if you are, you will have the ability to talk to an academic advisor. And the academic advisor will sit down with you and answer sort of any questions that you have about a course plan, course schedule. So they'll be able to answer questions such as, you know, I'm working full time and I only am able to take certain number of units. So the academic advisor will be able to work with you, say these are the number of units that you need to graduate in the time frame for each program. Each program, since it is a different unit length, has different requirements on how many units you have to take. Some of our programs are kind of cohorts, so you need to be specific with the number of units that you're taking in order to keep up with the cohort. For domestic students, your leeway is a lot more flexible just because you're able to take, say, 1 class or 4 units. If you're an international student and taking the program online, you also have that flexibility. If you're an international student and doing the program residentially, you definitely need to talk with your advisor, because usually there's either an 8 or 12 unit limit on those classes. So that's 2 or 3 classes. Talking with your academic advisor about your particular situation, and if you're international, your visa situation, will definitely give you more guidance and kind of a tailored program to you. Some of our students do work full-time and take 1, sometimes 2 classes per semester, while other students are trying to rush through the program and doing student full-time, so 3 or 4 classes. It just depends upon your time commitment and how quickly you want to progress through the program. Will you provide more information regarding the graduate certificate? Yes. So for the graduate certificate, this is kind of geared towards professionals that have, say, another degree in another field that's not gerontology. So let's say either you have a JD in law, you have public health or social work, or let's say business degree or a finance degree, and you want to learn a little bit more about gerontology. That's kind of what the program is geared towards. All of the application requirements are specifically the same as some of our selected master's programs. So that online application, you're also going to need the resume, the CV, your official transcripts. We have the possibility to waive the GRE if your GPA is within that range. And we are also going to require those 2 letters of recommendation. Do the transcripts need to be sealed in official university envelopes, or just official transcripts will do? So if you are mailing your transcripts to us at the address that we've listed below, you can also contact a admission counselor for that address as well. We will require them to be official from the school. So the envelope that you mail them in doesn't necessarily need to be stamped or sealed or any means by that, but they do need to be official original copies from the university with the official stamp or seal of your university. So we cannot accept any copies of official transcripts. What you can do is upload a copy or unofficial transcript in your application portal by uploading it, just to give us kind of a precursor so we can start the review process. But in order to go completely through the review process and receive an admission decision, we will need official transcripts. Okay, next question. If you want to do a dual degree, is it possible to apply after you have been in gerontology for a while, or do you have to declare to that school and apply simultaneously? Great question. So if you are interested in a dual degree, we offer 6 dual degrees, and that's specifically with our Master's of Science in Gerontology program. You have to apply to both programs and receive admission to both programs in order to then declare the dual degree. Say you start a program in social work, the Master of Social Work, and the next semester you want to apply for gerontology. That is totally acceptable. You're able to apply in different semesters. Please note, though, that if you want to apply for the Master's of Science in Gerontology in, let's say, your last semester of the social work program, you would need to contact your advisors in both programs and let them know that is what you're planning on doing. That way they can reflect that in your course plan. So it is suggested that you apply at the same time, but it's not required. If you are thinking about it and you're already in a different program at USC that we do a dual degree with, reach out to an admission counselor and your academic advisor in the program that you're already in. That's going to be your best bet, because that dual degree allows you to reduce the number of required units for both programs. So we need to be able to reflect that in your course plan as well. Next question, can we submit more than 3 letters of rec for the PhD programs? Great question. So you are welcome to submit more than the designated number of required letters of recommendation for each program. So 2 for master's, 3 for PhD. However, we are only going to look at the required number, and I would suggest thinking about your recommenders kind of recommendation that they're going to give you. So, you know, it's up to you if you want to have a lot of kind of good recommendations, or if you want to have the required great recommendations. So I would really invest your time in thinking about who your recommender is, what kind of recommendation they're going to give you, what kind of letter of recommendation they're going to provide you. Again, you are more than welcome to submit more than 3, but no more than 7 or 8. I would have to check on that exact number for you, but I would really suggest trying to keep it to that kind of required number, maybe 1 more. Great question. Okay, so this question's about the GPA waiver for the GRE test scores. So if you have a GPA of 3.0 or above, we are able to waive the GRE test scores. If your GPA is below that 3.0, I suggest contacting an admission counselor to see if the GRE test scores are going to be required for you then. And if they are required, we are looking for that 297 minimum. If you do have any further questions about that, please reach out to us individually, and we might be able to give you more specific guidance. Great. Okay, I'm just going to give you guys another moment to submit any more questions that you guys have. In the meantime, I'm going to go through some of the other submitted questions that you guys previously submitted during your registration process, such as, is there anything additional that I can do to help supplement my application? Like I was saying earlier, we are looking at your application holistically. So trying your best on every aspect of each kind of required documentation. So try your best on your grades, try your best on your statement of purpose, on all those questions. And that's the best that you can do. Great. Just coming through the last set of questions that are coming in. And it looks like we have covered most of the topics here. Again, if you have any kind of more specific questions, please reach out to us via email currently. If you have WhatsApp, you can go ahead and scan the WhatsApp code here. We will respond to your questions in there and provide questions via that platform. But the quickest way to reach out to us and get your question answered is via email. Any of the admission counselors are also more than welcome to set up a phone call with you to kind of discuss your situation, which program is the best fit for you, and kind of the requirements that you'll need to apply for the program that you're most interested in. If you're also not sure which program is the best fit for you, say you've narrowed it down to 2 or 3 master's degrees, if you're not sure which PhD program, reach out to one of us and we can guide you through that process by hearing about some of your interests and some of your career goals or aspirations as well. Great. So it looks like we've answered most of the questions. Again, if you didn't hear your answer specifically, you want more detail, please reach out to us and we're happy to share. Great, and my fellow mission counselors have also dropped their emails in the chat, so you can just go ahead and copy them there and put them straight into an email. If you joined us for all of our sessions this week or multiple sessions, I want to say thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciated your time listening to us speak all week and making this event so great. We hope that you continue to stay safe and hope to see you in our school one day. So thank you. And this is going to conclude our session.